Hello. Where am I? Oh shit. I am 100% black. Hang on. There we go. Ooh, I don't have a category set up. Here we go. Can I get game visuals, please? There we go, thank you. Jesus. I was a ghost for a moment. It's, I had the filters on for the movie stream. I forgot to turn those off. I don't know what I want to do this stream. Like, in Project Zomboid, I mean. I don't really want to work more on the Muldrow base, especially now that I found out that the generator just attracts, like, the entire town to come attack you. You can make a boat? I don't know. I just wanted to make a joke about the zombie Thatcher. That's all I wanted to do. Clickbaited, I'm sorry. I mean, I could just clear out more of Muldrow, but I don't know, it feels like I've done that for like 2 streams now, you know? It's been done. I mean, there is a boat in the game, it's just, it's like a building, basically. You can't really move it. I think I'll check on the chickens this morning. Roasted Leaf, hello. Part of me just wants to maybe do some exploring today. I may drive north, or like northwest, see what we got. Thankfully as well, I did manage to get the copyright mutes on the movie streams VOD rescinded. Like, Twitch, like, rescinded them immediately, like, the second I flagged them for review. So, it just makes me think a bot must have reviewed it, because it was that quick. But then, if you got a bot reviewing them, then how does the bot flag the... Do you know what I mean? Like, surely you could just not flag my stream in the first place. You know, that's entirely possible that moderation and appeals are two different bots. And maybe the appeals one is just better, you know? Alright, ladies, what have you got for me? No eggs? That's fine. Hey, Belle. How did the rest of your anniversary stream go? Streamversary stream. I think when I last popped in, you were playing Phantasy Star, I believe. Playing Phantasy Star Online. Went great, had a lot of fun. Supposedly many people recognized it. Huh, okay. It's partially to celebrate a friend's birthday, but I'm kind of hooked. I only tried playing Phantasy Star Online once, and I never got very far into it, and it was like a later Phantasy Star Online. It's like, whichever one's the quote-unquote, like, current one, you know? It's like, I started to play it, and it just started throwing, like, all these terms and nouns at me, and I just got, I kind of got overwhelmed, and packed it in. The onboarding left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. Hey, Davey. No, nothing. I've literally just started. I just checked on the chickens. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the stuff in... hydrate? Okay, I will back at base. I don't think the stuff in Phantasy Star Online is even particularly complicated. It's just, it's very specific to Phantasy Star. So, like, if I had been playing the series up until then, I probably could have just picked it up no problem. And it probably isn't that bad. It's just the way it explains itself and the amount of stuff it throws at you in a very short amount of time is a little overwhelming. It also helps that I think in terms of like MMO like culture, it's very specific to the part of the world that it's in. So there's certain like social etiquette and like ways of doing things that you wouldn't see otherwise. And that's not to say that Japanese MMOs or Korean MMOs can't do things their way and that it doesn't work in the West. I mean, you know, Final Fantasy 14 is a great example of a Japanese MMO that does very well here. Yeah, I don't know. Also, I seem to remember that the monetization of whichever one's the new Phantasy Star Online, is a little nightmarish. But that's par for the course, you know. And that's the other thing as well. You're coming in a decade late, and you know, like, I think probably the only game that's worse for onboarding new players is probably Destiny, and that's just because they vault old content, which is insane, by the way. Whoever thought that was a good fucking idea? Alright, let me hydrate. My mouth is dry, and I think it actually probably sounds dry over the mic, so... That's the thing, is you would think that Western gamers would be more on board with the Phantasy Star Online 2 model, because it's all cosmetic stuff rather than convenience stuff. Like, it's not pay to win, which is kind of what, like, people here are wary of. Happy Monday. Remember trying Destiny of Set and learning that it got rid of the entire initial tutorial after this tutorial got plopped in the hardboard with no context. It's completely insane to me, and obviously I'm a little biased because I have a history of Destiny 2, but even without that, it just seems like such an ass-backwards way of doing things, you know? I retried Star Wars The Old Republic recently, and the combat still feels clunky. What doesn't help is Tor recently redid its entire class and combat system and kind of fucked it all up. They reworked it for the worse. Which isn't the first time a Star Wars based MMO has had a combat update that's kind of killed the game, but it's weird it happened twice. Yeah, they completely changed how classes work, and on paper it's a neat system, and in practice it's I'm not a fan. I tried it, and I was just like, oh no, just go back to the old way. And I played through Tor a bunch of times. I beat the main story as, like, I want to say 3 different characters, because you get a slightly different story each time depending on what class you play. You know, I played a bunch of Tor. I didn't play it like an MMO, which is, I think, in itself is kind of an issue. You could basically play it as a single-player game, which in a massively multiplayer online game is an issue unto itself. the option plays class stories as different classes. Yeah, I just don't get it. Because then you have to consider, like... You have to consider that the class quests were balanced around specific classes in terms of, like, the battles they throw at you. Although that being said, playing as a stealth class just made certain content incredibly easy because you could just walk past all the enemies. I blitzed through the Imperial Agent and Smuggler main quest lines because I just found out you could just turn on stealth mode and just walk past all the fights to get to the bosses. And the general story structure of like Knights of the Old Star Wars: The Old Republic main story quests is oh, there's a guy here and he's behind like 10 corridors of enemies and you have to get there and kill the boss. You just keep doing that. And I got so sick of it, I just started stealthing through it, and the game does nothing to penalize that. Yeah, Sith Warrior actually feels like, even playing through Sith Warrior as a Sith Warrior, it did feel a little overtuned. Some of the class quest fights are kind of brutal, I'm not gonna lie. I'm doing fine for gas. Alright, let's go exploring. Yeah, like, Sith Warrior assumes you can tank damage. And it will test that. Oh, see you, Bo. I did start late today, so... And I mean, the thing is like, people were kind of shitting on Star Wars: The Old Republic when it first came out, and part of that was like good faith argument, but a lot of it was because that was around the time that like Gamergate was happening and like people were turning on BioWare. So I think a lot of the early criticism of the game could be quite unfair. But the way they've handled it since then, it's... what do you have here, gentlemen? Locked, eh? Does one of you have the key? Yep. No gas, okay. Yeah, no, same. Well, yes and no. The game that got me to turn against BioWare in general was Dragon Age 2. But what sealed the deal for me was Inquisition. I was not a huge fan of Inquisition, I have to say. I've tried it again since then, and like the characters are fine for the most part. The gameplay just puts me to fucking sleep, dude. I can't handle it. I don't enjoy playing Dragon Age Inquisition as a game. And also the story is just Mass Effect of sorts. It doesn't really feel like a Dragon Age game. Oh yeah, no, Dragon Age 2 was a huge fucking disappointment. I was so hyped for Dragon Age 2 because I love Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age 2 was, first of all, it was an incredibly rough condition, technically on launch. It was full of bugs. There was very few character role-playing opportunities, like, you know, because we had to make Hawk a like a voiced character. And that's when you started getting into dialogue options where it's all like, you know, your options are yes, yes, sarcastic yes. Like that's basically Dragon Age 2 dialogue. Yeah. It was mostly that, the bugs, and the complete, like, combat was just severely dumbed down and streamlined. Where does this go? Yeah, like, Dragon Age Origins had a lot going for it as an RPG. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but I enjoyed it. And yeah, Dragon Age 2 was just, it was a step in the wrong direction that BioWare would continue to double down on. No, I'm not off-roading on that. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Origins is like a tactics game. It has a much more reactive story. Like, your choices and consequences in it actually kind of matter, which was really kind of what Mass Effect sold itself as, and then very much did not do. Have I been in here? No, I think it's just meant to be... I don't recognize here. So I think it's just meant to be looted. Inquisition is an Ubisoft game disguised as Dragon Age spin-off. A bunch of collectathons that go there and unlock map-type stuff. Was it dialogue's boring? Every option was just 3 variations of the same style, plus something a race major option, which usually just allows you to sidestep a quest. Yeah, but kind of a lot of stuff you said also applies to Dragon Age 2, in my opinion, is the issue. Like, the only thing I'll give Dragon Age 2 is it has a very strong sense of visual style, and the maps are better. I have a conspiracy theory about Dragon Age Inquisition, which is that it was originally meant to be a Dragon Age MMO, and then they switched to... It was basically meant to be the Dragon Age version of the Old Republic, but then when the Old Republic had the commercial issues they pivoted to making it a single-player RPG. If you look at the level design in Inquisition, like just the general shape and flow of the maps, they're almost identical to the Old Republic. Almost identical. And there's this kind of weird, uncanny feeling you get in a single-player game that was clearly designed and built to be an MMO. And I call it the Kingdoms of Amalur effect, because it feels like playing Kingdoms of Amalur, which was also very clearly meant to be a WoW clone, and then they're just like, oh, fuck, make it a single-player RPG. Yeah, no, when you think about it, it makes sense. Absolutely. And also, the tone seemed a lot sillier. The whole Mages versus Templar thing was a fun, morally grey, like, thought experiment. And that kind of moral quandary just got flanderized over time. This car burns through gas so fast. I wonder if the gas tank has a leak, but I don't know if that works in Project Zomboid. All these houses are just looted. Oh my god. There was no moral conflict in Inquisition because the game just took the faction you didn't choose, made them the bad guys. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, right? Like, to a certain extent, I can understand the whole, in Origins, the whole Mages versus Templar thought experiment being a little tired, you know? It's like, you know, like, for those that don't know, in Dragon Age, mages can be possessed by demons. And so there's a kind of like highly militarized, almost crypto-fascist military order that looks after them called the Templars. And the kind of irony is that the Templars are so oppressive and inhuman to the mages, it drives the mages to become, you know, to indulge in blood magic and summon demons and whatever. Which, so in itself, that's kind of an interesting thing. In practice, what happens is any mage that's like remotely inconvenienced is just like, well, guess I'll do blood magic and summon a demon now, and it's like, okay, buddy. Like, and I can understand, especially in current year, being a little exhausted by that, because it's almost the dark fantasy equivalent of someone on Twitter going like, oh, would you misgender someone to stop like a nuke being launched? That's kind of what it feels like. But in practice, it just kind of, the whole thing just turned into like a Mickey Mouse like cartoon moral quandary. Like, the mages just kind of became unambiguously good, and the Templars just kind of became unambiguously evil for the most part. The one thing Inquisition did kind of interesting is introduce characters from Tevento who did blood magic without going full exorcism. Yeah, yeah, there's that guy with like the little mustache, right? I think I never used him because I really was not a fan of his visual design. His visual design and his voice acting and kind of everything about him just kind of annoyed me, so I just I just benched him immediately and never used him. Oh, fuck. He's also where the whole idea falls off in its face, because in lore he is a blood mage, but mechanically he's a necromancer. Necromancy is not blood magic. Yeah, I mean, that's getting into mechanics. I'm not too interested in that. I'm more like the story, you know? Mechanically, who cares, right? I'm curious where this road goes. Did I do that? All my homies hate ludonarrative dissonance. Now there is something that was brought up as well, which I don't know. I feel like I do want to weigh in on, because Dragon Age Inquisition does the thing that a lot of Dragon Age games do, but also no, actually no, like Dragon Age Origins didn't do this, and a lot of modern games do, including some beloved ones, which is like, oh, we have a romance system and all of your companions are like bisexual and they're all DTF like immediately. And it's like, okay, that's designed in that way to facilitate the player. And people give Baldur's Gate shit for that. Despite the fact I think I'm okay when Baldur's Gate does it versus something like Dragon Age. And I think it's because of intent. I think the intent behind it Mr. Sheep, why were you just... Well, time to take that back to the base. Yeah, I don't know, like, I think because I've kind of just come to realize I'm not a huge fan of how BioWare writes romances. And I buy it more in Baldur's Gate. And I think it's because Baldur's Gate, or at least Baldur's Gate 3, puts in more of the legwork in regards to the kind of emotional aspect, and also the context is different. So a lot of the romance, like, because I remember I think I talked to someone on stream and they're just like, oh, fucking Baldur's Gate sucks because like everyone just wants to screw you for no reason. And it's like, in the context of Baldur's Gate, you have sexually liberated characters who are in a stressful situation. And for a lot of them, the first kind of quote-unquote like romance/sexual scene, the context of it is at a social event where people are drinking and like finally cutting loose a little bit after what in universe can be several days or even weeks of stress, right? Stress, going into battle, dealing with life or death situations, and everyone's just like, oh my god, finally a fucking respite from this nightmare that we're in. And I kind of buy that more than Corporal Shepard does a fetch quest and suddenly the person on their ship is like, I love you, Shepard. Do you know what I mean? Like, am I making myself understood here? Like, I buy one over the other because the context and the legwork is put in to the latter, right? Ooh, that's a big group. Exactly, it's tension and release. And then I certainly know for a lot of the romances in Baldur's Gate, you then, after that initial liaison, get more into the kind of emotional aspects. I don't know if I could drive through that. How close am I to the road? God damn. You know, I'm gonna turn around. It's like the romances in a lot of BioWare RPGs, especially Mass Effect, is Corporal Shepard just kind of says like mildly affirmative things, and people will declare their like undying love for Shepard, and it's like, and I kind of get that, right? Because like, especially in an RPG, like Mass Effect is, above all else, a wish fulfillment game, right? Mass Effect is a wish fulfillment game where you get to be the cool space marine and you kick ass and you save the galaxy and you get the hot alien babe, right? I understand that. But I think because a lot of people played the games at a very formative age, they didn't really know what better romantic writing was, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, okay, if you play Mass Effect 2 when you're 15 years old, I'm sure the Miranda romance line it is really hard hitting, right? Or like the Liara romance stuff. Whereas now I just look at it and it's just kind of this absurd like wish fulfillment thing, and you know, there's a place for that in fiction and in video games. Absolutely, I'm not gonna dispute that, but it's also corny. I guess corny is the way to describe it, you know? Yeah, I mean, I think like my favorite like undying loyalty aspect in 2 is probably Garrus, and at least with Garrus, that's because you have that kind of past experience together, right? Where it's like you've gone through thick and thin already. Am I carrying a dead chicken on me? I've been carrying a dead chicken on me this entire time. But I mean, I make out I'm all high-minded as well. I think it's good that Mass Effect is horny. Like people would give Miranda's character shit, and it's like, come on, you know what game you're playing. You know what you're in. I know what I'm in. You know what you're in. Oh, the camera oogles there. It's like, yeah. So her ass is distracting me from the war crimes. I do think it's very telling that I don't think Miranda as a character got nearly as much love from the fan base as the others. Yeah, yeah, Mass Effect is like a kind of space opera kind of thing. You're a cool renegade space cop soldier, and depending on what game you're playing, some kind of alien bad guy is trying to do something. Yeah, is that why people didn't like her? Is it because she's kind of cold to the player in the beginning? Is that maybe why people weren't such a big fan? Because if so, that's really funny. Miranda's kind of mean to me. I don't like her. because all I can say is fucking half the characters in Baldur's Gate 3 do that to you now, and people love that. Like, you know, you do the fucking Lae'zel romance, and all she does is neg you for like half of it. Different audience. Unironically, I think that's it. I think it's because the core audience were young and didn't know better. There's a lot of Lae'zel haters. They're stupid. She's like the best one. I'm a Lae'zel simp. Do you not cook the chicken in the pan? Do I just cook the chicken whole? Let's try it. Younger and more... Yeah, you know what? Unironically, I wonder if a lot of people who played Mass Effect 2 as teenage boys transitioning probably helped. Those teenage boys that played Mass Effect 2 back in the day are now fully grown women, and they're looking for something more fulfilling in their gaming experience. Ooh, 54. I need to stop my weight from plummeting, so that's good. If ME2 came out 15 years later, people would be posting about wanting the mind control chip and mentions and a collar on them. Yeah, and there was a moral outrage about Mass Effect. Specifically, I think Mass Effect 2, maybe Mass Effect 1. And you look at it now, and it's so quaint in comparison to what we have now. So quaint. I think, as well, it's because Miranda's a very conceited character because she does the whole, like, oh, I'm genetically perfect thing, despite just looking like a largely regular human person, you know? Witcher 3, I would actually say, is probably a case for one of the better romance sequences. What a glow up from The Witcher 1. The Witcher 1 is like so puerile and like in comparison. Like The Witcher 1 is like, oh, you fucked a hot babe and now you got a trading card. It's like, cool. I replayed the trilogy recently and it's incredibly post 9/11 war on terror, security state stuff and its politics. Yeah, I imagine there's, yeah. But The Witcher is also a great example of how you can tell a story with a game and you can have romance mechanics in a game where the characters are more sexually liberated without it just being like a pervy wish fulfillment thing, you know? like, Geralt fucks. You can unambiguously say Geralt fucks, but that doesn't mean he can't have a satisfying emotional relationship, you know? Hi JJ. We're talking about video game romances, and I've been shitting on Mass Effect for a bit. How are you? I've been shitting on Mass Effect a little bit. However, I also think Mass Effect was ahead of its time in certain regards. Singing the praises of Baldur's Gate 3, but not saying it does it perfectly. And singing the praises of The Witcher, especially The Witcher 3. Don't even get me started on Mass Effect. Like I said, if you just look at Mass Effect as a corny, popcorny, like, you know, you are John McBadass, Space Marine, and you're out here to kick alien ass and get with the alien babes, and everyone's like, oh, John Space Marine, you're so cool. Like, Mass Effect is perfectly, I would argue, good for that. As much as I shit on Mass Effect 2, the fucking finale of Mass Effect 2 is so good for gassing you up. Lives rent-free in my head, right? As someone who genuinely loves, like, cheesy action movies, you know, like, I'll watch Jean-Claude Van Damme's Hard Target and have a really good time. Mass Effect 2 speaks to that part of my brain. Here I am in my cool spaceship with my friends I made along the way, and there is an alien dickhead in a big space rock, and I've got to go kick his ass. Fucking sign me up, right? But in terms of, like, an emotional, romantic aspect, it's so lacking in that regard. Whereas something like Baldur's Gate 3 is horny, is unapologetically horny in a sexually liberated kind of way, but it's got that emotional core to it, which makes it more fulfilling in my opinion. I didn't finish Inquisition, so I couldn't get through it. I just lost interest. I tried. God, I tried. I tried so hard. But it started hitting all the Mass Effect plot beats, and I was just like, oh, I can't. There's a part where it's like the screen was shaking and something was collapsing and John Dragonage was running around, and it was just like, it was like BioWare was shaking me by the shoulders saying like, you ungrateful bastard. You people like Mass Effect, why don't you like this? And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about what's happening. Give me more unapologetically horny AAA video games. Yeah, but I think if you're gonna go that route, I think it has to be, personally for me, it has to be with characters who choose to do what they're doing rather than it being in a voyeuristic kind of way. So like, you know, I've played a bunch of games where it's like, hey look, there's a fucking hot babe here, and she's like, I'm like, yeah, cool, but it's like those characters don't take charge or ownership in how they're presented that way, as opposed to like Eva in Metal Gear Solid 3, for example, where she has intent and design behind it. Like she takes charge of her own sexuality, for example. Or, you know, I mean, to go back to Baldur's Gate 3, like Astarion, where he's got this whole kind of sexual component to him, or Lae'zel, where, you know, autism be damned, my girl can bounce on it, you know. That's a joke. But you know what I mean? Like the characters in Baldur's Gate, there's more to them and there's an intention behind it, right? Like, if I was basically a, you know, someone who, you know, a traveling mercenary with an evil worm in my brain, I'd probably be liberal of that stuff too, right? Who cares? These could be the last days you're alive. Sow your oats. Astarion doesn't have a sexual component, he is the sexual component. Yeah, but I mean, that's also something that's really interesting about him, is because I feel like if you asked a bunch of, you know, if you got like a committee together to be like, hey, make like a hot guy character, you wouldn't make someone that looks like Astarion necessarily. I mean, in terms of like the face or the voice, but it's the way he carries himself and the way he talks and the way he conducts himself is kind of what brings the appeal for a lot of people. And I think that's something that a lot of like designers just kind of miss, right? You can make someone who, certainly maybe for anyone that isn't a teenage boy, if you want to make a character that's kind of sexually appealing, you don't have to make them like as conventionally attractive as possible. You can make someone who is decent, you know, don't get me wrong, he's a good looking guy, but you can make someone who's mostly appealing, but then it's the way they carry themselves is kind of what really sells it for a lot of people. They'd make Housen, yeah, or like, I feel like, you know, if you got people to design a character that was meant to appeal by committee, maybe someone like, again, someone like Jacob in Mass Effect, right? Or, oh god, who are people horny for? Or like, you know, like the kind of character you see in like a dating visual novel. You know, I'm struggling to think of examples right here. You wouldn't make someone who sounds like a fruity theater major and has a face like an investment banker that looks after himself. Like, that's all I'm saying, you know? I can't even say that. He just looks like a theater kid. Everything about him says theater kid to me. Carrie from Cyberpunk, great example. Even though, I will say, from what I've seen, Carrie has probably the best romance in Cyberpunk 2077, which is remarkable to me. Because I know that, for the most part, when it comes to video game romances, gay men tend to be quite underserved. And they fucking cooked with Carrie. I mean, really, I want to say all of the... Actually, no, like, I feel like if you were like... If you got a bunch of people down and you were like... You got a committee of like crusty business guys and you were like, we need to make a character that looks appealing to women, I think you get River from Cyberpunk. I think they imagine that a hot guy for like girl gamers is River. River, who just gets the scraps. Incredible that the only romanceable human male characters in Mass Effect are Elenko, normal but boring, Jacob, Ura, and Vega Chunk Hard Slab. I've only played Mass Effect 3 once and never to completion, and I barely engaged with Vega. And he is absolutely chunk hard slam. He's beef large huge, you know. He's he's Kurt man meat. Yeah, I mean, I do know that Vega having no personality does have a design component, because the reason that Vega's in the game is, I believe EA wanted EA wanted an audience surrogate character for people who hadn't played the previous two Mass Effect games. So you know, it's how, like, if you watch an old episode of, like, Star Trek, you need Riker to ask the questions that the audience want to ask. Or like Philip J. Fry in Futurama, right? Like, something weird happens and Fry has to be the one to go, huh? And then that gives the characters an in-universe reason to explain what's happening. I believe that was Vega's role in Mass Effect. It was for... Because, you know, this was at the period where everyone was like, we want the Call of Duty crowd, you know. We need to onboard characters who... We need to onboard players who didn't play the previous two games. Like, they just imagined that was the kind of person who's going to be buying Mass Effect 3. So we need a guy who can ask questions. And that's kind of why Vega's a little bit of a nothing character. And also, you know, not to diminish the taste of certain people. Sometimes some people just want big slabs of beef. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people want beef McLarge huge. Yeah, if you fucked up and you killed everyone so far, he's there to ask for exposition, let you know something is weird. Yeah, because you can't, like, especially at that point in, like, the Mass Effect story, you can't have Shepard asking those questions. Shepard's been around the block too many times, so you need someone else who can ask. That's the second time I got here that you almost made me choke on my spit. Oh, I'm sorry, JJ. Otherwise, if you have another character there that lines in the same place, is more just like, wow, this is just like the time we... Frankie, you didn't mean it that way. I read that as, like, a setup for a Family Guy cutaway gag. Nah, gee, Lois. This is just like the time I was on Navaria. I'm people, but looking at someone who hasn't touched Mass Effect, this beef looks like it doesn't taste that good. I mean, you gotta remember, like, Mass Effect 3 was what, like, 2010? You kind of took what you could take. He also does just look like a Gears of War character, right? I'm gonna see if I can kill JJ before this stream's over. I'm trying to find a better gay romance than Kerry, and I'm coming up blank. I haven't played it. I have heard Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 might do. It apparently has a very good gay romance. Henry and the other guy. I'm still losing weight. That's crazy. Henry and Hans, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard apparently it is quite a good romance. Takes a few in-game hours for the weight indicator to change. Yeah, but I ate like an entire roast chicken and then went to sleep. You would think. You'd think it would update. It's because I've been eating too many eggs. Apparently eggs are just very calorie deficient. Okay, it's just normalized. Yeah, I think the reason I've lost so much weight is because I've just been eating so many eggs. Which is kind of ironic when you consider that people eat, like, eggs to bulk, you know? Where was I storing all my leather? It was in the basement. It might be in the basement. Oh, it's nutritionist. Okay. But to be fair, it's even harder for me to find MB video game characters. I'm not even necessarily upset about lack of rep. I need outfit inspo. Really, the only one immediately comes to mind is the character you play as in I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, where the character is designed to look as kind of androgynous as possible. And you can choose, I think if you choose their gender expression, they can be weighted to one way or the other, but either way they look kind of androgynous. It's a good game. I've sung its praises a lot of time. When my old PC exploded, I had like a kind of weak laptop and I just played that for like a month. I played a lot of it. I didn't leave the oven on, did I? Immediately doubting myself. It's very good. It's very good. It gets very heavy at certain points in the story. So just go into it being aware of that. But yeah, you can absolutely play through the game as a non-binary character and actually look non-binary. So that's pretty cool. Non-binary? Also, fantastic fucking soundtrack on that game as well. It's quite small, but every song in it is really good. Hey everyone, that person's hoarding all the gender. Get him! I do want to play through Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't want to commit to playing the first one until I have the second one, if that makes sense. And I haven't bought the second one yet. It actually went on sale recently, the kind of story of my bucket life, because at the moment, my money comes in at the start of the month rather than the end, so I miss a lot of like video game sales. Which actually is kind of a blessing in disguise, because it stops me from doing a lot of impulse purchases, which I really can't afford to do at the moment. First one was, yeah, I mean, I really liked the first one. It had like a couple of foibles as a game, but all in all, I really enjoyed it. I think its biggest sin is like the story just kind of ends, and that's about it. I've noticed the zombies are clumping up more, which is interesting. I have two modes, Pinterest Hobbit or Monster Hunter on PC. Pinterest Hobbit is, for most people, a completely indecipherable thing to say, but I instantly know what you mean when you say Pinterest Hobbit. Okay, that's like an office building. Where am I? Oh. I'm intrigued. Let's check it out. I hate the underweight trait. It's making this so much harder than it needs to be. Meachire Estate. Ooh. And what, pray tell, is a Meachire Estate? Whew. I did not see that. I got distracted by the hydrate. Hello, Mr. Explodo. Hang on, I need to be careful here. Vitreo, hello! Sorry, I'm right in the... Actually, no, I can pause while I do this. What are you up to tonight? Good evening. Please tell me about your stream. I've been ranting about video game romances for like an hour. Playing some Clara Obscure. Ooh, how far are you? And how are you finding it? It is very good. Don't worry about spoiling. Do you know what act you're in? Like, you're in act 1, 2, 3. Oh, you just found, oh, fuck, what's his name? Esquier. Yeah, if you've just met Esquier, I know where you are. Yeah. Yeah, I know where you are. With the cave and his neighbor, Francois. There's a lot of zombies around here. I'm just gonna retreat back to my car and get my breath back before I go any further. Whole area's goofy. It is. Yeah, I know precisely where you are. You're, that's still Act 1, I believe. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. The, you know, it's kind of old. It's, a lot of people have said this now, but God, the opening of that game is emotionally devastating. How goes Zomboid? It goes okay. I had like one close call because I got distracted. It's not anyone's fault. I was looking at OBS when I shouldn't have been. But aside from that, I'm just exploring. The, definitely, I think the thing with Clara Obscure that maybe throws a lot of people off is you don't have to dodge and parry everything, especially if you play on the lowest difficulty, but it really helps. Like, the biggest skill ceiling is just being able to avoid attacks, you know? And I think a lot of people fish for parries maybe when they're not good enough, when they would be much better served by just dodging instead. I'm playing with Bite Infection on. So if I get bitten, the game's over. Just don't get hit. Just don't get bit. Forehead. Ooh, hello. I thought I heard someone. I have to say, I'm curious to see what's behind all these zombies. I hope it's something good. I'm not just fighting my way into like a natural history museum or something. Or a botanical garden. Actually, no, a botanical garden would probably be okay because it probably have stuff you could eat in there. My guess is there's even more zombies. You know, that's probably a safe bet. I'm gonna have another sit down. Am I out of water already? I am. Did I bring milk? I did. 2 birds, 1 stone. God, imagine quenching your thirst with a nice tall carton of lukewarm milk. Ugh. Oh, it's so hot. Milk was a bad choice. Knowledge is the best reward. I do kind of want to get in there. That guy's wearing his pajamas. Long johns. There we go. Is that a tired Moodle or depressed Moodle? That is a bad smell Moodle. That is a discomfort Moodle. Because I'm wearing armor. I'm wearing a lot of armor. Okay, I think I finally killed just about everyone outside. Nope, there's one. Oh my god, there's 3 of them. Of course there's 3. Four. 5, 6. Oh, Jesus. There's never just one. You see one, and of course there's 6. Never mind, make that 8. Jesus. I did not see that person coming up. I am okay. She came out of the woods. I kind of feel like I did alert the horde. Now, what's happening is, I believe the way that Zomboid handles noise is there's like an invisible circle around me, and the game is just like, this equals noise, and the more loud, quote-unquote loud stuff I do, the bigger that circle gets. So, as far as the game's concerned, I'm being very loud right now. And then once you stop doing loud stuff, it doesn't instantly diminish, it just starts to retract. Yeah, look at that. They're not alerted yet, at least. I need to get some water. I passed a house on the way in. There's probably still water in the plumbing there I can get to. I'm really lucky that zombie that attacked me didn't get like a bite out of me. I'm not seeing any clothing damage. No damage to the vest, which is interesting. Normally if they bite at me, they get the vest. Yeah, I think I just lucked out there. Okay, got a couple of garages here. Big house. Alright. Ooh. I don't know why. I feel like I needed a T-square at one point and I didn't get it. Can you, on the spot, think of an RPG video game, fancy sci-fi, that at least tried to handle food realistically? Define realistically. Food availability made sense. I need to think about that. There's someone to my right I can hear. There he is. Food availability. Alright, well, while I'm in here, I might as well take a look around, see what I can find. Excellent. Ooh. Oh, I'm now massively gaining weight. That's good, considering how much my character's been eating recently. Yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to, like, food that has a mechanical need rather than just being present in the game. Like, the character has to eat food, for example. Oh, lucky fucking find. Lucky, lucky. Okay, well, if nothing else, this expedition is a success. No, I mean, I kind of follow what you're asking. It's just I need more information so I can give a good answer, if that makes sense. I just need I need you to clarify. Mostly for lore, what I mean more specifically is the availability of products makes sense given the environments and realities of the setting. Yep, right, yes. Morrowind to a certain extent. The receptacles that can have food in them do make sense. They're often in preserving... like, preserving jars. You go to farms, you find food, for example. I fucking dropped it on the ground. Kingdom Come Deliverance, maybe? Although Kingdom Come Deliverance does have like an infinite stew part, so maybe not. There's a zombie walking around down there I want to deal with. Yeah, but I mean, just flagging that it spawns in certain containers doesn't necessarily reflect the economics of food, for example. Like, food can be overly scarce or abundant, depending on how those figures are tweaked, you know? Because the reality is that for most of human history, people spent the majority of their time and money on acquiring food. But obviously, in most RPGs, if you did that, that would not necessarily be a fun experience for the players, right? I know, it's hard in RPGs because RPGs, obviously, the kind of focus on gameplay is different. I guess if you have like an RPG, like survival game hybrid, maybe, but... I kind of want to take that cowboy hat. Oh, fuck off, that's too heavy. Yeah, I'd say maybe Morrowind. Skyrim to a certain extent, however, I would argue that maybe in Skyrim the availability of food is a little bit high. Probably the biggest sin that Skyrim does, and also to Oblivion as well, is the scaling of the infrastructure to supply food is all off, right? But, you know, that's getting into, again, ludonarrative dissonance. I'm sure in the lore, Skyrim isn't a place where, like, 10,000 people live alongside 50,000 bandits, right? And 3 farms. You know? You have to make certain allowances for that, right? I mean, I've spoken at length before about things I would change in terms of Skyrim's writing and world building. But that was mostly in regards to how it handles the Civil War. Daysprings, hello. What is in here? Is this like a gated residential community? Not walking through that tree, I just know I'll get bit if I do that. There we go. This window looks broken to me. I can't remove the glass though. There we go. Ah, damn it. I saw a pizza slice in the fridge and I was like, maybe, but it's been like 3 months. No. Oh, it's a gated residential community. Kind of. The gates are a little low elsewhere. Where am I? Here. So does the high gate just end in the half gate? Yeah, it does, okay. So this place isn't as secure as it might otherwise immediately appear. Still, I could see maybe there be some good loot around here. I remember trying with city skylines and realistic building populations and even decent public transport. There's a lot of cards. Oh, yeah, and that's going back to the original Maxis saying that they originally designed the game to have, like, realistic levels of parking. And if you have a realistic level of parking in your game, it becomes unplayable. And that was in the original SimCity in the 90s. Oh, that's fun. I was like, why are there two biker guys in here? But you see the guitar as well. At least the mod that adds a car that's a rotating cat made it more entertaining. I don't think I've seen that one. I might have done. Oh, you know what would probably be a good idea for tomorrow is going around Rosewood and disassembling all the electronics I can find for the scrap. That'd probably be a good idea. Pack of beer cans. I'm gonna bring the car up, I think. I actually came here for TES3 and stayed because streamer called. Daysprings, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I do want to go back to Morrowind. I do want to go back to Shadow Wizard Monet Gang. I just got, yeah. The one thing you will learn if you follow me enough is I just get sidetracked with stuff. But no, genuinely, that's great to see. Thank you. I definitely do want to go back to Morrowind, like modded Morrowind, with Tamriel rebuilt. Came here for Might Magic, yeah. Part of me was wondering, like, because the thing is like, I'm kind of a little jelly of like flicky speedrunning stuff. And part of me is like, I kind of want to speedrun a game, but the thing is I've never played like Rogue Squadron, so I couldn't really do that to like compete against Flicky. I don't have Flicky skills. But I'm like, what game do I love that I could like just learn the speedrun for? And I am considering Might Magic. The issue is the Might Magic 6 speedrun is so fucking optimized. It's like, oh, you know. It's insanely optimized. Funny lizard game. Funny lizard. Oh, Project Silverfish. I may stream that this week. I may stream that tomorrow. I do want to do Project Silverfish. I was going to do it tonight, but I started so late tonight, I'm like, I don't really want to start a new game, you know? Still no fishing gear. I'm kind of starting to take this a little bit personally. Like, you're telling me that a yuppie that lives in a house like this doesn't have a fishing rod? Is that what you're telling me? I could probably learn speedrun Might Magic 8, but I've got to do it glitchless if I want a chance. Yeah, again, I feel like any kind of thing I'd probably want to do it glitchless, just because glitches, certainly for like something like, I mean, Might Magic 6, it's like, oh, you know, you wrong warp to the end of the game, and it's like, okay, I guess that is technically the fastest way you could beat the game, but kind of like, where's the spectacle in it? Where's the sport? The whole menuing while holding a scroll thing doesn't seem fun. Yeah, exactly. I think when it comes to speedruns, I'm also not interested in games where it's like, there's so much RNG involved that you're just like constantly resetting, you know? That doesn't seem particularly like appealing to me in terms of picking a speed game. Randomizers are fun, and again, like, little known lore, the first game I ever streamed on twitch.tv is Deus Ex Randomizer. I also did do some Elden Ring Randomizer. Deus Ex Randomizer is actually lit, because it completely changed how you engaged with the game. One of the devs showed up, which was really cool. And they used some of my stream clips to like bug fix. God, can you imagine if Warren Spector showed up in stream? And he's just like... fucking furry, stream looks like shit, and then leaves. Guys, I got trolled by Warren Spector. No! I don't know how I would take that. Like, imagine like you're playing a game on twitch.tv and like Peter Molyneux comes in and just like insults you and then leaves. Just because he's bored, right? That's got to have happened, right? I guess you'd use like a pseudonym so people don't know it's you. but I need a high-profile beef. I could beef with Flicky. I could tell Flicky is fit as trash. That'll get me in the books. No, it'd need to be someone more high profile. I don't know, I don't really follow, like... The only streamers I follow are, like, moderately bigger than I am, or, like, really big. And even then, I don't watch a lot of those. Like, I only really watch, like, some stuff of Northern Line and, like, Germa. Occasionally I'll watch Rain Radio. Yeah, definitely, if it comes to Molyneux's coming into your stream to harass you, I'd rather have Peter than the other one. He'd start, like, quoting race statistics at me. The other Molyneux, not Peter. As far as I know, Peter Molyneux isn't a racist. Hey, he might be. I don't know enough about him. I mean, so, like, speaking generally, I think the biggest streamer I know personally is probably Ophi. Because Ophi averages, like, 100, 200, 300 views a stream now, which is crazy. So I could start a beef with Ophi. What would I beef with Ophi about, though? Like, I'd need something I can beef with Ophi about. Beef about burgers. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of pivoting a little bit away from the Burger Clown thing now, just because he's doing different stuff. Hang on. Is he live? Yeah, I'm doing this on stream. Is he live? Let's have a look. He is not. I'm gonna DM him. Hey, if we were to have a public beef for content, what would we beef about? I feel like whatever it is, the stupider, the better. Alright, if he gets back to me, chat, I'll let you know. You want to show us all the wonder that is dog on shark? Dog on shark. You can't have an ethical beef. Yeah, exactly. I just realized, like, I have streamer mode on OBS on. If he gets back to me, I'm not going to hear it. The menagerie was blessed with dog on shark. Oh, dog on shark. Oh, look at that face. Look at that face. That looks like a puppy. Is that a puppy? In the Discord. Look in the menagerie. Is there anything you can do in Project Zomboid with the can of oats? Like, can you prepare them in any way? Still a young girl. Not even 2 years old. Oh. I saw a it's very much the thing at the moment to refer to like brain chemistry altering posts. I think one of the ones that altered my brain chemistry was oh, I do whatever my boss tells me and I eat overnight oats. It's like, bro, you're a medieval peasant. I don't remember the exact wording, but it made me laugh. I do whatever my boss tells me, and I only eat overnight oats. It's like literally peasant maxing. Red magazines get put in the basement. But yeah, can I cook anything with these? Yes, okay, so I need a bowl of water and oatmeal. I could probably microwave this, actually. Although I wouldn't know how to cook it. Let's try it. So for this, I'd probably want, let's say 2 minutes on high. Okay, that was not enough time. It was almost enough time. Yeah, I mean, the whole concept of, like, ooh, if I was a peasant, I'd do, you know, or what, is what we consider to be a peasant kind of, like, really varies depending on what time period you're in, you know? And then there's the whole serfdom versus peasant thing as well. Oh, that was almost spot on. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So peasants in England would live a very different life compared to, say, peasants in Russia, for example. There's 2 bowls of oatmeal and I'm still not full. Can I just make, like, a big bowl? I'm getting cooking XP for it, at least. What? Oh. It might be easier to just do this in the oven, I'm thinking. There we go. 3 bowls of oatmeal. God damn. Oh, I can wear the cat ear headphones in addition to the regular ears. Huge. They look a little silly. I'll store them somewhere. There we go. Calling it gruel from now on. Early Middle Ages actually preferred to live in the Middle East. Lower chance of religious persecution, lower chance of death by nature, and better access to medicine. Yeah, yeah. I mean, what, if you had to choose, like, a particular time period to be in? Yeah, I don't know, like... Maybe being in a relatively prosperous community in the Ottoman Empire? Or maybe, yeah, I don't know, that's a hard one. Oh, you mean, like, if you were still your own, like... Yeah, I get you. I don't know, that's a hard one to... It's a hard one to answer. Slavs and Ottomans are natural enemies, just like Slavs and Teutons. Slavs and other Slavs. Okay. It's too early to go to bed. Don't really want to work out, but... I've got books I can read. Yeah, I should probably take... Yeah, let's take that. Let's take a carton of cow's milk. I've got those scrappy electronics as well. that's such a... That's a really far distance to go for stuff to loot. However, the roads are much clearer compared to somewhere like Muldrow. Although looking at it, it's probably roughly the same distance. Hmm. Let's fix the generator up a little bit. Yeah, that's barely helping. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is when it's daylight, I'm gonna walk into Rosewood. I'm just gonna disassemble like all the radios I can find. I think that'd be a good idea. Didn't I just grab an empty pan? Where? I had like a roasting pan. I just grabbed it. There it is. Okay. I thought I was losing my mind for a second there. So we sailing from Kentucky to the UK? God, that would really make this into a survival horror. We can make a detour in Denmark. Yeah, I mean... Oh, honestly, I feel like Denmark would be like a pretty cool place to set a game like this. Especially from what I've seen of like Danish like urban planning. Copenhagen is beautiful. Yeah. And you know, like, Denmark does interesting things with, like, medium density, like, residential planning. I don't know how true it is. Something I've heard is that Denmark is remarkably trusting with its children compared to a lot of other places. So, like, you hear stories of, like, Danish mothers, like, moving to other countries, and they'll leave, like, their baby outside while they go into, like, a shop to get something. And then they'll be surprised when people are like, what the fuck are you doing? That's just what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. Oh, shit. Yeah, and it's definitely, it's not out of, like, a negligence kind of thing, because Danish parents aren't negligent. Or at least they're no more negligent than any other parents. It's just the social contract is different there. Apparently Norwegian's the exact opposite. Really interesting. I am aware of Scandinavian rivalry. Although, I don't know, like, the impression I get from, like, as an outside observer is that the rivalry is very much affectionate, I guess you could say. It's like a sibling rivalry. Okay, the goal today is to get scrap electronics. I told Flicky about the internet beef, and he said, and I quote, that would be so fucking funny. What, if Flicky and I just beefed over something? Something really stupid? Okay, we'll see. Yeah, Ophi hasn't got back to me. Fake internet beef. The risk you run is, and I've definitely I've had this happen to me before, is if you're too deadpan about the beef, people think it's real. So that's the kind of, like, line we would have to skirt, you know? You have to be committed enough to the bit that it's not, like, obviously, you know, like, obviously a joke, but you can't commit to the bit too hard, otherwise people think that you actually just don't like each other anymore. And especially, and I hate to say this, but it's especially common in like indie VTubing, because VTubers are a bunch of social maladists that don't know how to interact with human beings, and I say that as one. You know. Like, it's hard. It's hard to fake a stupid beef as an indie VTuber, because indie VTubers will beef at the drop of a fucking hat. You know. Typically because one of them said something racist. There's so much racism in indie VTubing, it's unreal. You'll get like a fucking tiny anime girl saying like the 14 words, and it's like, oh great. This doesn't reflect badly on everyone else. Hey, I leveled up. Is that a can on the side? It's a jar of potatoes. Oh, lucky fucking find. This house looks exactly like The Sims. I kind of really want to do something Sims related. There's a lot of stuff I want to do. I wanted to get a house flipper invitational set up, and I almost did. I got like the ball rolling on it, and it just lost like momentum, and so it didn't happen. But can you imagine how fun like a house flipper invitational would be? Where it's like everyone gets given like a brief and everyone goes and makes their own house. Kind of want to try that again. Sims 1 and 2 got a nice re-release on Steam. Since when? When did that happen? I was speaking a bunch about The Sims, I think like on Friday, I want to say I was speaking about The Sims. Gamercat, thank you. Thank you for the follow. About like the kind of pros and cons of all the different Sims games. What, I mean, like, if there's any Sims heads here at the moment, like, nostalgia aside, what's like the best one in the series? Is it still 2? Because I do remember enjoying 3 for what it was. I do remember enjoying 3. JJ, Sims is one of your favorite games. I want to do something Sims related. It's just, there's stuff I like about 4 and there's stuff that I'm not so satisfied about 4. Depends on why you're playing it, yeah. I feel like for a stream of The Sims to be worth watching, there needs to be some kind of like challenge aspect or some kind of goal to work towards. And I know that there's like this huge kind of like sub-community of people who do like themed Sims challenges. Like there's the decades one, for example. There's like having 100 babies is another one. I feel like one of those would be fun, but I don't know if 4 is necessarily the best game to do that sort of thing in, right? There's a lot I like about 4, and there's certain things that aren't as good about 4, so house decorating, I'd say 4, because it has the most modern and up-to-date decor. Yeah, I seem to remember that the architectural options in 4 are much more robust as well. Say what? The open world aspect for 3 is good for role-playing and world-building. Interesting. Yeah, because, I mean, like, the one thing that 4 did really well, in my opinion, was making The Sims, like, feel alive and be more expressive. Like, I feel like I was one of the few people that liked the emotion system. Although that's fully admitting that the emotion system is very easy to cheese. But if you let the emotion system work, like, naturally, I feel like it brings a lot to the game. But it's, you know, it's whether or not you want to deal with all the other stuff in 4. Not to mention that the pricing in 4 is just completely insane. It's just completely... I mean, it's perverse, the DLC pricing in 4. It's absolutely perverse. The Sims has always been lousy with DLC, but... the Katy Perry Candy DLC for The Sims is to The Sims what Horse Armor was to the Elder Scrolls. It was the canary in the coal mine, and it's what we made fun of at the time, but then just became accepted practice later. Two is the best for fucking around. That's interesting, because I'd be interested in that, but I'm just like... part of me thinks like, oh, because the 2 is older, do they just feel like bizarre pod people now in 2 compared to like the later games? Are the Sims themselves just like not as satisfying to engage with, or has it aged a lot better than I'm thinking? You know? Two has aged fairly well. Interesting. Okay. Because I did play a bunch of 2. The other thing I always found kind of a little bit limiting as well is, like, depending on the game, the lot size could be a little small. But to be fair, part of me is thinking, like, I think 2's lot size was probably comparable to, like, the later series. 2's a bit hard to get running. Well, I mean, hopefully a re-release would help with that. Does the Steam re-release come with, like, the expansions, or do you have to buy those separately? It comes with everything. What's the price point on that? That's pretty good, actually. Fuck, I'm tempted. They bundle it. Oh, fuck off. They bundle The Sims 2 and The Sims 1 and then 2 pieces of Sims 4 DLC. Fuck off. Are you serious? Why can't I just get the games? The 2 games? You gotta throw in 2 pieces of fucking 4 DLC with this to push the price up? It actually lowers the discount. Like, there's an offer going until the 11th of August where I can get The Sims 2 Legacy for 20% off. If I get the bundle with the Sims 4 DLC, it's 16% off. You actually pay more. Oh no, but then when you bundle them together, they are cheaper. I'm severely considering it. Because, you know, I never played The Sims 1. My first one was The Sims 2. The packs you get in this bundle on Steam are the Sims 4 Throwback Fit Kit. And and the Sims 4 Grunge Revival kit. So it's like the little content kits. Sims 1 runs in Vulkan now. Interesting. They're just clothing mod kits. Okay. It's bizarre to me that you would sell a bundle that... Is it because I own certain things in the bundle? Yeah, no. The Sims 25th birthday bundle includes The Sims 2, and then those 2 content kits for The Sims 4. That's bizarre. That's genuinely bizarre. Why would you sell 2 games and then 2 pieces of clothing mod? Like 2 clothing mod. Oh, isn't it because... Is Sims 4 free to play now? Is that why? Good night, Leaf. If Sims 4... Right, that explains it. Sims 4 went free to play, so it's a call to action to get people to then fire up The Sims 4. That's why. It's to get you to engage with the live service Sims, because that's what it is now. Like, EA, I think, is still doubling down on saying there's not going to be any other numbered Sims games. Like Sims 4 is going to be the last one, so they just want to keep it as like a live service title where they just release content for it forever, which for anyone paying attention is not realistic in the slightest. Oh yeah, we're beefing. Flicky, what are we beefing about? What did you do to me? Or what did I do to you? What horrible thing took place? Do you have any ingredients on sandwiches that you can't stand? Ooh. I don't like wet sandwiches, but I mean, no one does, right? Like, I feel like that's a normal thing to not like. Like, you know, when the bread gets wet? Ugh. No. Okay, here's one. Who's your favorite JoJo? You two are watching JoJo at the moment. Which JoJo is your favorite JoJo? I forgot to take the mayo, mustard, ketchup, relish, ranch, vinaigrette, and oil off of the sandwich. I got you. Now we're beefing because I handed you a sopping sandwich. Or it's like, it could be like, oh, you know, I saw Flicky at a grocery store in wherever you are yesterday. I told him how cool it was to meet him in person, but I didn't want to be a douche and bother him and ask him for photos or anything. And Flicky was like, oh, like you're doing now? Well, I was taken aback. I mean, all I could say was like, huh? But he kept cutting me off going, huh, 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 and closing his hand shut in front of my face. I walked away and continued with my shopping, and I heard him chuckle as I walked off. When I came to pay for my stuff up front, I saw him trying to walk out the doors with like 15 Milky Ways in his hands. I'm not going to read that whole thing, but... That's legit, that's one of my favorite copy pastas. Because it's bizarre enough, like, there's enough, like, weird little incidental details that just, like, elevate it. I've been asking JJ to get into JoJo. It's just me on it right now. My favorite JoJo is Joseph. Ooh. Why is this house empty? Did I empty this? I think my favorite JoJo is... It used to be Joseph. It did used to be Joseph. It was Josuke for a bit. I do like Joski. It might be Johnny now. It might be Steel Ball Run Jojo. There's a sign out front. Oh. I can't read good. So I thought I'd like disassembled all the furniture in there or something. It's either that or it's like a Star Trek related beef, but I feel like that's too predictable. It needs to be something where, like, it needs to be a beef where, like, it's absurd enough that people that think about it for a second can go like, oh, that's obviously a joke. But it needs to be something that people could, like, conceivably beef about, you know? Ooh, computers. Computers and door bashing. I think they're all upstairs. Yeah, I think that's getting to the start of idea. It needs to be like... It needs to be over like a really absurdly low amount of money. Like something that no one in their right mind would like get into a full-on fucking fight about. I need to think about it. I need to think about it, but I like the idea of a fake beef. It needs to be a fake beef, and it needs to have something like Ryan Gosling saying that you can't scan the Milky Ways because of, like, electrical interference or whatever it is he says. And then he starts yawning really loudly when the cashier tries to talk to him. You also want tomato on your burger, and I said sure, and you hand me a burger of like the entire middle third of a tomato, basically the whole fruit about either end. Yeah, like that's getting closer, that's getting closer, I like that one. I gotta brainstorm this, I gotta workshop this. I think this is a good bit in the making. Like, in my ideal, like, scenario, it's gotta be one where someone will be like, I'm sorry that happened, but also what the fuck is wrong with you? You know? Like, oh, well, Flicky and I agreed to eat, like, all the pieces of a Lego Death Star together, but then Flicky beat me to it. You know, something like that, right? And now we're beefing. We got like a 10,000 piece Lego Star Destroyer and we were like, we're gonna eat this together. And then we didn't. So full of Lego. It's that, or I don't know. it's toddlers feel like was in a mouse. Toddlers, but toddlers that are beefing like adult men. And saying that, I think I just described the boss baby. Does the boss baby beef with anyone? Like, is there boss baby beef? Hey, that did okay. Beef baby? Boss beef bee? Is there anything here? We both... we both came up with boss baby OCs at the same time, and we're both... each of us is accusing the other one of stealing our idea. No, although no, I don't know if it works for boss baby, because then we're talking about like baby sonars, and that's like actually a thing people do. You know, I'm not microwaving diapers out here, right? That's all I'm saying. Oh, I'm not getting into that. I'm not. You can fucking. I don't know how I even begin to broach that subject. I'm scared. I'm scared and disoriented. It's I can't. I genuinely don't think I can say more about that without just breaking Twitch's TOS completely. There's an infamous figure online that I made reference to just now. If you look for it, you will find it. I would say nothing else more about it on stream. No, it was... How do I say this in like the most family-friendly way possible? It was someone who enjoyed playing a certain role and had a means of gathering materials that enabled the roleplay in a way that was horrific and unhygienic. A little bit like the Tumblr witch that was like stealing bones, but worse. Less racist, but worse. Do you guys remember the person on Tumblr that was stealing bones? Is that just a piece of internet lore that only I remember? Yeah, well, I mean, she initially wasn't infamous for stealing bones. I think she got arrested for stealing bones. She said she was foraging bones, which I think by the strictest definition of the term she was, but she was taking like human remains to do like witchcraft with, I think. It's because she lived somewhere like Louisiana, and it was somewhere like New Orleans or something like that, and every time it rains, like it floods out like the old poor like burial sites, and just human bones will just wash up, and she was like hoarding them. It was something like that. I do feel like we as a society nowadays are much better equipped to deal with like the really like fucked up uwu small beans out there, and like people who like dress themselves up in like therapy speak and then they do like really heinous shit. Like who was the person who admitted to owning a slave? Was it the person who ran, like, the spooky account? There was someone... I might be getting two separate incidents, like, mixed up in my head. There was... so there's the person who ran, like, one of these, like, scary content accounts. You know, it's, like, basically just short-form creepypastas, but a lot of the creepypastas they were posting up were, like... The punchline was, like, mental illness, which was kind of fucked up. You know, like, they're the kind of person where they post up a drawing and they say, like, oh, a schizophrenic person drew this. It's like, that makes it creepy. Which just, all it does is it stigmatizes mental illness, which is bad. But then I think it's them or someone else on Tumblr then casually made mention to the fact that, like, their family owns a slave. Like, just based on the part of the world that they're in. And they're like, yeah, everyone does it. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? My toxic trait is going on YouTube and listening to people talk about, like, spill the tea on, like, internet drama that has, like, nothing to do with me. I'll just be like, really? Wow. You learn about so many people who have, like, elaborate sock puppet networks to, like, cause shit. Like, I've heard so much from, like, fan fiction community drama, and it's like I have no interest in the fan fiction. I have no interest in the origin, like the original IP the fan fiction is based off of. But please tell me about what the people who are doing this shit are doing to each other. That's how I found out. Apparently the Voltron community is like toxic as fuck. Like, I really like Izzy's. Izzy's does really good content. There was Sarah something, who I don't think she's as active anymore, but she did good stuff. Jenny Nicholson, please give me another 6-hour video about a theme park I have no intention of visiting. I'll happily sit and watch that. Like, Izzy's, please tell me about the Warrior Cats fandom and how insane it is. Izzy's is actually really good if you like Sims stuff. She does a lot of Sims content. You know, I'm gonna drop off that ammo. Check out Cruel World Happy Mind for like 3 or 4 hour videos about random YouTuber downfalls and beef. Yeah, I mean, the issue is that YouTube's algorithm knows that I like learning about internet beef. So my recommended has been fucking flooded with the people chronicling the pirate software downfall. And it's like, I kind of know that one. You know, I've kind of been following that one in real time, so I don't really need, like, the summaries on that one. Not to mention, I mean, it's like watching a flock of vultures, like, tear apart a corpse. The number of people who just immediately bandwagoned on him the second he became, like, an acceptable target was kind of gross. It's like the second he became an acceptable... Because the thing is he did numbers on, like, YouTube Shorts, so he's very much a known figure. So the second that these people could come out of the woodwork to fucking tear him apart, they did. And I'm not a fan of him. I kind of... There was a lot about him that I kind of came to learn was like, ugh, you know. But even I'm looking at it, I'm being like, that's a bit much, you know? Yeah, so Pirate Software is, I mean, JJ, if you're not on YouTube Shorts, you probably won't have seen him. He's the... If you are on YouTube Shorts, he's the guy with, like, the long brown hair and, like, the crazy deep voice, and he talks about, like, game dev stuff. He's had a very public downfall, which it really has been a long time coming. Basically just, because his whole thing was like, oh, I'm an ex-Blizzard dev, I know what I'm talking about, I'm a pro hacker, like, all this shit. And it just turns out he has, like, the most padded resume of all time, and he's a Nepo baby. And he's also just a hypocrite, which in itself wouldn't be bad. The main issue he has is he is physically incapable of admitting fault or that he can make a mistake. If you point something out to him that he got wrong, his immediate response is to double down, to dig himself deeper. And this kind of manifested itself with the Stop Killing Games movement. So the Stop Killing Games movement is going on at the moment, and that is a movement from Ross Scott, I believe, who is the guy behind Freeman's Mind. And it's just trying to put pressure on game developers to add end-of-life plans to live service games, right? Because at the moment, if like a live service game ends, they just turn the servers off and the game you paid for just doesn't exist anymore. You can't play it. And it's just getting developers to do that. And they tried to get Pirate Software on board with it, and Pirate Software misunderstood what the... I think what happened was, because he was kind of like a well-known figure as like a game dev at the time, people kept asking him about it and he got mad, I think. And then I think Ross contacted him directly and asked him to look at it, and Pirate Software's response was, I hate this and I hate you and I'm going to do everything I can to burn your movement down to the ground. Which was a strange response. And then what happened was he started making videos about Stop Killing Games and how awful he thought it was. And then, because of his reach on the YouTube platform, he did genuine harm to the movement. If you heard the term Stop Killing Games and you looked it up on YouTube, the first hit you would get was Pirate Software's hit piece on YouTube. And then kind of what happened was, because Stop Killing Games is pursuing like an EU directive and initiative at the moment, I think it's it was the start of this month, like basically Ross just uploaded a video and he's like saying like, hey, we've got a month left, we're nowhere near the number of signatures that we need. I kind of wanted to keep Pirate Games' name out of my mouth, but as it stands, he's spread a lot of misinformation about it, like we're not going to hit our target, and if you look at the stats, there's a very good case to be made that Pirate Software's video kind of killed the momentum of the movement dead in its tracks. So Ross uploads this entire kind of video. Says, like, here are the points that he misunderstood. Here's what the actual truth is. I've tried to clear this up with him. It's very obvious he has no intention of engaging with us in good faith. And there had been a couple of other instances of Pirate Software being a dick. There was him roaching in World of Warcraft. There was him... Pirate Software's whole thing was he's like, oh, I'm pro indie developer, and then an indie developer made a game that made fun of him, and he like threatened to sue him. He like no, he didn't threaten to sue him. He did threaten to sue him. Yeah, he issued a false DMCA claim, and then threatened to sue the guy. I was like, oh, okay. And it was a false DMCA claim. And then on top of that, he then got vilified for really fucking over the Stop Killing Games movement, and that just kind of sealed the deal for a lot of people. And then, like, people really started to kind of figure out, like, oh, this guy's just kind of a douche. And then the dogpiling started. And then it turns out when people like read into his claims, and that's when we started figuring out that his status as an expert in game dev is, at best, severely exaggerated. And considering how much stock he places in his own credibility... Oh, this is bad. Alright, out. Get out. Yeah, no. Not dealing with that. Not dealing with that. Jesus Christ. That got scary. Did I get bit? No, it's muscle strain. Okay. But that's kind of the long and short of it. But now there's this entire ecosystem of, like, people dunking on him. And don't get me wrong, most of it is kind of, like, well received. I have seen some bad faith arguments about the shit he's done. And the issue is like, to this day, he maintains he's not done anything wrong, right? He's like, no, everything I said is right. You're all, it's not I misunderstood them, you all misunderstand me. You know, he like that kind of double down. And then what doesn't help is people are, like, inventing shit he's done whole cloth, which just kind of corroborates his claim that it's all, like, a hit piece against him, you know? It reinforces his victim complex that he has. The car did stall at first. I was like, oh, shit, okay, come on. I think I missed that gated community. Yeah, I did. But yeah, that in a nutshell, that's the Pirate Software debacle. Do you guys have wizard hat opinions? Yes. It needs to be pointy, but it can't be a straight point. It has to be like a floppy point. I will also accept crooked. And it needs a big brim as well. Just the cone and nothing else looks bad, in my opinion. I think the Gandalf is superior. However, and I will I will make a case for if you want a non-standard wizard fit. Merlin in the Excalibur movie from the 80s. Incredible wizard fit. He has aura as a wizard. Like, unironically, probably one of the best movie wizards. You crazy zombie. I don't know whether I should hit you or kiss you. I fucked that up. Milk break. Never mind. It's a very specific shape. It needs to be like not pointy, just not straight up kind of point. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Straight up pointy does not look good in my opinion. Ooh, hello. Oh, a replacement fork. After I broke my previous one. And a beer. Where beer go, though? What the fuck? What the fuck? How did you find me? Where did they come from? Where's my beer? There it is. Me when someone texts my phone literally ever. I did have to explain to someone, like, someone older than me, I'm like, I'm a millennial. If someone calls me on the phone, my immediate thought is it's a scam. Anyone who actually wants to get a hold of me texts me. or messages me on WhatsApp. Okay, the exhaustion's getting bad. I need to get out of bed. Man, this area is really hot for zombies. Yeah, that's the thing. I almost kind of want to update my answering machine message to just tell people, like, if it's a number I don't recognize, I will not call you back unless you leave me a voicemail. Leave me a voicemail, I'll call you back, no problem. Because then I know you're an actual person. Yeah, I should probably do that. It's just, it's another example of, like, enshittification. You know, it's like, I can fully accept that having a cell phone you can make full phone calls on is a good thing, is a good and useful thing. Unfortunately, misuse of the technology has made it almost unusable. We had a good thing and we ruined it with scams. I remember a while ago watching, it was like a video essay about why there's so many scams these days, and definitely it's partly because there's a lack of, like, enforcement. Fuck. However, they do make a case for it being a cultural thing, and I think I'm kind of inclined to agree. It's definitely because there's parts of the world where the financial gains to be made from fraud give people money that otherwise wouldn't have it. So, like, when you get, like, the I forget the term for them, there's a special term for them, but you get, like, scammers in, like, poor communities in Africa. They're like micro celebrities. They're like niche micro celebrities, like particularly successful scammers. And you know, they live lavish lifestyles. So that definitely adds to it, but the case they made was that it was the 2008 market crash and the subsequent bailout just basically messaged to most people. It's like, oh, God is dead, you can do anything. you got to scam to get ahead. And I think I agree. It's like, I think the 2008 crash just kind of signaled to a lot of people that, like, the American dream is dead, and you can work as hard as you want and still get fucked over, so you might as well fuck other people over. And then NFTs kind of reinforce that, NFTs and crypto, because a lot of guys that get owned in crypto go on to then scam others. Yeah, it's just a race to the bottom, and, like, guys know as well, it's like a zero-sum game, right? Like, someone has to lose. So they just do whatever they can to make sure they're not the ones that lose, you know? I definitely after that speaking of streams I want to do at some point. After that one American Truck Sim stream, I think I want to do a telenovela stream, but specifically just for the openings of telenovelas. I think we should like rank them. Because I actually had a lot of fun doing that. Fuck, I might do that this week. I don't know. I think that'd be a lot of fun. You know, watch this space. I might do that this week. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see. Just to keep things fresh, you know? Ooh, this my baseball bat's almost broken. That's not good. Why am I putting my tortilla chips in with my gardening supplies? Am I stupid? Okay, I think I might take a break there, but because I did start late. But this was fun. Let me just see. Let's raid out, shall we? Who have we got? Who's a boot? You know, I actually have like a stream ending screen as well. I've like never used it. I don't think I've set it up properly. Yeah, it still has the old UI elements here. I need to get this tweaked to fit the rest of the stream. All right, let's see who we got. I mean, it's good to see people tonight. Saw a lot of new names tonight, which was really cool. Love doing that. Archivist. Archivist is streaming. We're gonna raid him. All right. You've all been wonderful. Yeah, look, none of the UI elements on here are updated. That's fine. You've all been wonderful. I will see you tomorrow. Probably that's the plan, is tomorrow. We'll do something. Maybe this, maybe telenovelas, maybe Project Silverfish. We'll see. Be good to each other. I'll see you then.
Fuck Nintendo.